Check. All right. There you go. Here. Exist. Everything's lined up how I need it. That's just how it goes. Ooh. Right here. That's fuzzy. There you go. Happy Saturday afternoon, folks. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics. Doing another Coffee, Cody, and Comics. Looks like everything's working. I like this track. It's kind of why I sat on the standby screen a little longer, too. It's a nice track. Howdy, Scott. Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As always. Oh. We got an interesting topic today. I went through a few of them that I wanted to hit today, and this is the one that stuck the most with me. One of them was how easy it is to get. How would I phrase this? Because I don't want to sound like an asshole. There's a lot of folks who dive into comics as a get-rich scheme. It's the best way I can put it. I think how I wanted to phrase it was like, why to get into comics, why would you, and why you shouldn't. This was one of the original thoughts of this. Basically because of that. There's a lot of people who jump into it thinking, oh, I'm going to go make a movie. If you look at the amount of indie comics that have gotten any kind of multimedia adaptation, and you look at the status that they earned as comics long before reaching that, that's not a quick thing, and they didn't create those works to make adaptations. So the fact that I see so many people dive into it on those assumptions bothers me. So, but I decided that topic was not only too much of a downer for too long, but also it ain't that helpful. Folks who get it. Folks who don't, they're not going to get it. Oh, did he? I wouldn't be surprised. Perch also had Is Comics a Hobby video recently, and that kind of helped solidify it. It was a great phrase. He said that if you get into Netflix, it's like it's like quitting your job and getting a lottery ticket and thinking that's going to do it. And he kind of equated crowdfunding to that as well, even from well-known creators, quote unquote, known, who are usually known because of the IP they work on, not because of their skill themselves. And how surprising that is to some of those folks that it doesn't translate. But that topic wasn't, again, it wasn't, like, I basically covered it right there. It's just, it's dumb to do that, and to me, it disrespects the entire medium, which has already been one of the artistic mediums that has had it's been incredible successes. It has continuously changed lives. It has elevated talent and so many readers to places that they would have never been otherwise. Both fantastical worlds and financially. Collectors, so many amazing things. It's created the most earnings of another medium ever existed, from the box office, and yet comics is seen still as this stepping stone, as this lesser medium. And I think people who dive into it with that, they tend to get what they deserve. And anyway, that was again that was the less interesting topic. This one was the more interesting topic. Oh, come on. Resume transmission. Oh, I don't have voice bot on. I don't have my robot on. No wonder this is going terrible. What am I without my robot, people? I don't... It's just terrible. That's what I'm in. I'm terrible. That's what I am without my robot. Okay. My robots are coming. Resume transmission. Good on you, VoiceBot. Good on. Did I just exit VoiceBot? No. Okay, I just closed the window. Good. You can never tell these things. Here's chatbot so that you'll get your howdies. I completely didn't notice that it did say howdy to you, Scott. I had to. What do I pay these things for? All right. So this is the topic. I think it's phrased pretty well in my episode title. But here you go. That should be then. Poor closed captions on YouTube, so give them a break. Rather than drawing for the readers, part of me was making these things to have fun myself. That wasn't a good thing. Now this is the creator of Shaman King, which I am almost... I think there is 5 more volumes after I finish this. Those 5 haven't been reprinted and released, but I'm almost done. And you can tell this guy, we were talking about getting into comics for the wrong reason. Mangaka do not get into manga for the wrong reason most of the time because they can't survive the workload if they do. Your heart and soul has to be in it. You have to really, literally be able to break yourself against the medium to get anywhere in it. Which is terrible, and I don't think how a creative medium should work, but you cannot deny the results. But Shaman King, in particular, it starts off glorious. It hits a point where it's not so great, and then it comes back and does really good, and then now I'm at another low. Watching the interview that I took these images from, part of it is because he came up against Oda and One Piece, and so that was disheartening, even though Oda said the same thing about coming up against Dragon Ball, right? So it's just kind of how it goes, but Shaman King never really knew what it wanted, as far as I can tell, and I think that's why it's trouble. And he spent too much time drifting between what he wanted and what he thought the readers wanted, and so you end up with messy volumes. The volume I just finished, volume 28, super messy. It tells the story, right? It progresses things. The visuals are clear. It's not like trying to read Nito's work on Trigun, where it's just a mess, panel to panel. No, it's clear. It's just the dialogue and storytelling, the pacing. It's muddled. He doesn't know what he wants. Skip track.
As you wish.
Thank you, VoiceBot. So it would be easy also to get confused between these boundaries. And so what I titled this, right, was Reconciling Your Passion, what you want to do, why you're doing your work, with the needs of readers. You know, what will resonate with readers, what will satisfy readers as both an entertainment product and perhaps a work of art in terms of saying something unique and manifesting something that will be remembered. Will be loved and become a fandom and become a part of someone's life and their journey, right? So many works I've read that are now a part of my journey from amazing creators. This is spooky. Skip track. Again, thank you, VoiceBot. Good, that's much less spooky. But it's something he learned after he finished, during his series. It's something he was struggling with the whole time, and I think a lot of creators reach that point. I think most all of us dive into the work 100% passion. The ones who are doing it not for the get-rich-quick scheme, which at least those two topics do bridge in that case, who dive into it, and that wasn't a thing until these Marvel movies made bucks, right? Like, that wasn't even consideration for people in comics. It's just like, oh, somebody finally got a movie. You get a Blade once in a while, right? But it's not like the creator of Blade made bucks off of Blade the movie, right? Or Stan Lee got much out of the X-Men films, right? No, something, I hope, God forbid, but it's nothing. It's not how that system works. Hollywood is not like that. Um, and so, but now, with comics being thrust into the mainstream consciousness, but not as its own medium, but as part of film, which is a weird thing that happened. It's caused this dissonance. But the people who dive into comics for comics, comics fans, manga fans, readers who want to create, they dive into 100% passion. Whether they're creating their webtoons, or they're trying to create an indie book, or they're trying to break into the industry, which, good luck. And that passion, as Mr. Takai here says, not here, here, and we'll talk about another version of this, which is that guy, says here, he dove into it for himself to express what he wanted to express. He can do it extremely beautifully. He does this really cool thing where he renders some things hyper-realistically, mostly mechanical things, guns, vehicles, and stuff, like super hyper-realistic, but then they're contrasted against his very cool character designs. That's something he's very good at. Howdy, Mrs. H. Welcome, welcome. And so, as he learned, and he was thrust in the mainstream, he had to compete in Jump, and he was in Jump with One Piece for a good chunk of time, and Naruto, and I think even Dragon Ball Z was in the Buu Saga at that point. And so he had some of the greatest competition mangas known, and he was there. He earned his spot there. He just couldn't keep it because he got lost. He couldn't figure out how to satisfy the readers and his passion, and so he ended up not satisfying either. And at the end of the day, the work is still exceedingly good compared to many standards. Even when it's a mess, it's less of a mess than Trigun is. For instance, if people know Trigun, it's less of a mess than most comics these days, period. But it can be a mess. And I think it's a tough one. That it's one of the points I've hit. It's why I'm trying to pivot away from my original passion of creating a long-running, very loose series to something much tighter and more focused. Simply because experience has allowed me to learn otherwise. And I think I'm still able to convey the passion and the point of why I create comics, but I can couple that into something far stronger and less mutable and less floaty, ethereal, I guess, than what Jack Iron Steel Cowboy is. And so I just think this whole idea of that, every creator will face that, especially if you find any form of success. If people hook into what you're trying to create, you've got to figure out how both to keep them satisfied and keep them interested, but also to keep yourself satisfied and keep yourself interested. And there will often be times where those two things butt heads, and you have to pick one or the other. And that's Shaman King for me is an example of someone who tried to have his cake and eat it too, and ended up with no cake. I'll see by the end of it. He had time. It wasn't just a cancelization. No, he decided to end the series as best he could. So I'm excited to see where he got. I mean, this is 250 chapters. I'm into this, right? 250 chapters. I've barely made 3.5 comics, right? So I don't know what I'm talking about in some cases, but I like to think I'm relatively observant. And then, I'm catching up on One Piece. I've got 10 more volumes until I'm caught up on the English releases. I'm on chapter 900 now? 904. 904! Fucking loved almost every second of it, and then when I didn't love it, it pulled me back in within a chapter or two. Oda's very interesting like that. Like, he'll have lulls where it's directionless, And then he'll find, oh, this is what I need to say with this. Or he'll know it, but he hasn't known exactly how to say it. So he's spending time just trying to get to that point, and then he'll execute it perfectly. It's a very unique creator. But, again, it's probably so long running. I think Golgo 13 comes close, and that's a lot of fun, too. I recommend folks check that out. That one's episodic instead of storyline based, and so it's a completely different take on creating a long-running series. It does feel good to be working on a fourth comic. Oh, yeah, no question. The thing with indie comics is most... Again, especially for counting these days, and that bit I spoke of before where some people view comics as a stepping stone and a easy path into artistic and financial liberation. A lot of people don't get their issue one, right? They talk about it. Artist creators, I found, tend to get their work done. Those who can do it themselves, because then they drive themselves and get it done. They don't do a lot of talking, they do a lot of work. Like the wonderful, if she's still here, Mrs. H. She has created many comics. She has created many, many things. She is, I mean, you can go, I can say relatively, because there's others, but prolific in terms of the output as an artist, when you compare it to many who say they are artists. For instance, myself, right? If you count like my videos and you count my other artistic expressions, my marketing, my other interactions that I do consider art forms, maybe. But in terms of like physical comics or just comics in general, yeah, I've got a long way to catch up to many folks. She does all the things. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Did you find the manga artist Calabrith yet? Yes. We've been chatting for a while, and it's somebody you would really appreciate seeing us work with. In fact, there's two that I'd love to in various forms, but it's the same issue as always, right? I'm great at networking. I'm not going to say great at running a project, but I can keep things moving. I can keep the wheels on the buggy, as they'd say. But financially and making it worth these people's time, that's much more difficult. I can offer certain things, but crowdfunding in particular is a very slow way to gain finances in a medium that demands consistency and speed. So I'm hoping, I'm looking for different angles. I would love like an executive producer role at IronVerse Comics, a money roller, right? That would be excellent, even if it would mean some twisting and turning to get the work done that we need to do. I think that sacrifice would be worth it for speed and consistency. But so I'm looking, but yes, I have the individual. We've been chatting, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with that. Because again, I have a very clear image of how this new thing starts, which is why I know it's the right path. But at the same point, I'm trying to figure out if that actually is the optimal path, or if I should start from scratch. And if I'm starting from scratch, what should I do on that angle, right? Because I have the icon, the thought form, the structure of what I wish to voice, and that manifests into something I appreciate very much, Jack Irons. So I want to carry for that forward and continue, because there's so much more to say from it. At the same time, within the structure of how it's manifested, I'm bolted down in many places because of that icon. Not bolted down creatively, which is nice. Like it's a very liberating icon, but it's bolted down in terms of structure and in terms of building from something from ground level up. Again, right? Like its ground level is based, and it's the building that's built around it is a very specific shape, and I could either demolish it, or I can keep building on top of it and hopefully build around it, which is this first path I'd like to try, is building around it, right? Taking the same ideas, taking the concepts, and keeping the base, the ground level, but building around it and then building up, instead of building up from a platform I'm on right now, which is not optimal, especially with knowledge that I've gained being able to do that, right? But then the other one's just demolishing it and starting something new, and I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I think it would be, I keep talking about liberation, a quest for freedom and purpose is a big part of the work that I do. And it's enticing simply because of that, right? It's like, oh, this weight's lifted, and I can use my knowledge freely instead of being constrained within these boxes. But at the same time, I don't have an icon in my mind that resonates as strongly with me as Jag. And so time is both my best friend and my enemy right now, because I think things will unfold in time as they need to, but at the same time, patience is tough, and you have to have a lot of faith and trust in that. And I do, but it's again, not optimal. It's not the most comfortable thing. But yeah, I do have a couple folks who would love to work with me. And one in particular that I've kept the conversation up with for a while that I would love to try a page or two from this from, but they have their lives, they have their people to take care of, they have their own work. And that's one of the things too. If you're bringing people on for your work and they have their own work, if they can do both, wonderful. If they can't, then you better make it so that the work that you're doing is also their work. And I'm using this term very specifically, but at the same time it might not be communicated clearly. If what they want to do and what you do can align within the same project, that's wonderful. But if they have a separate project, I'll use instead of work, that is theirs, that they also need to do, that divergence of attention and focus, as I've seen with my projects, leads to a slowdown at best and leads to standstills at worst, usually on both things they're doing. And so I would like to assemble something that can be something for many people, which is what I've tried to do with IronVerse Comics. And I would say I've at least done that for a couple of folks, which is wonderful. And God bless. Thank you so much, Scott, Mr. Dollar Coins, if you stumble into this. But at the same time, those are different projects within the same grander work. And that's the term I use as work, the point, the forward momentum, the creation itself, the general manifestation of the efforts, not just the separate pieces of it, I guess. And so that's something, right? Like if I had, especially without my work right now, ways to even just fund a page a month or something, that's progress, right? That would be great. I don't know, but I've got multiple folks I would love to work with on something like that. 3 in particular, and I think I know how I want to do it too, is it would be black and white. One individual would do the line art and possibly most of the inking, at least the character inking. The other individual, who's a very busy person, so it might be tough, but if I could make it worth their while, it's a little different, would do backgrounds and tones. And possibly lettering. And then the third person, I would love to do either fill-in inks or covers with coloring as well, because I love their color palette. I think their line art is extremely standout in terms of like its stylistic approach, but I don't think they get enough credit for their choices of palettes. I think they're stellar, and I would love to see that on top of these other 2 individuals' combined works. So my first goal for that is to see if I could assemble maybe a page between these 3 individuals and see how that came out. But that's a trial thing, right? It wouldn't guaranteed lead to any further bits, so it's investment on a trial, which may not have a return on investment, which is something I can go to right now. So we'll see. But that's what again, when I'm talking about reconciling your passion with what readers need, and that's Jack's like been 100% passion. It's pivoted a little bit with issue 3, and it's pivoted more with issue 4. I've tried to be more satisfying in terms of action. Most people look at the character design and expect an action book, and it was never really intended to be an action book, but it was always going to have it. But it's a character study and a societal commentary. There's no ways around it. But I think with issue 3, I moved it closer to what people expect. And issue 4, it's definitely, I think I've hit that balance. But we won't see till the thing's fully done, right? But that's my hope. Again, the problem is, though, even when I learn, I have to wait for these things to manifest. And by the time they do, I may have already learned other things that would have improved them. And that's part of the problem right now as well, is that integrating the lessons takes far too long. It does mean there is probably a greater change between each issue, which is going to be more recognizable, which could be really good, or it could be really bad. It could be jarring, right? I don't know. Let me, I'm missing chat. That's why I used to have the robot, but then the robot would interrupt me. So robot voice is only in the drawing streams or gaming streams. I cannot argue. I'm missing things. It does feel good to be working on First Comic. Okay, that's the last thing, Tristan. Yes, it does. Did you find the manga artist? Yes. I haven't seen sequentials from them, though. I should ask them for some of their sequentials just because I'm curious. Like even just a little plug, because they're more known for very cool pinups. And they're not... No. But I know their work from very quality full-page spreads. Okay. Quick comic art, yeah, either one. Can argue with that. She does do all the things, yes. Kay is not in the loop. I just need somebody, it doesn't even have to be a mangaka style artist, right? Like that wouldn't matter to me. I need somebody with that mindset. Not the work yourself to death mindset that's necessary in their actual industry, but something closer to it than the Western artistic mindset that I've continuously come across, which is it gets done when it gets done. Which I just need something a little bit closer to it gets done when it needs to get done than it gets done when it gets done. That's all. Like I don't even need like 20% more oomph to it would be a radical change from the schedules I've been working with. Yes, it is somebody you know. This is H. 2 individuals, perhaps, possibly 3 individuals. Again, that's the structure I want to do. Because, again, I think that would speed it up. And I'd like to see what working with a full team where the inks and the letters and everything is separated, but we apply it more of an assembly line. I'd like to see that. You did have a few ideas from Recluse villains. You haven't told... Ooh, excellent. I don't know what example... But Scott is an excellent example of a independent comic creator with drive and passion for the work itself. Oh, howdy, Arno. I'm gonna bug me for details. Listening while you work. Oh, cool. Yeah. Whenever I'm around, I'm an open book as I can be. Nice thing is, people know my. I can go back over here. Well, we'll get back to you, Mr. Takai. Because then I want to go to this individual as well, because he's somebody who does it purely for the passion and the artistic version, and he doesn't care what readers go for, and it works for him and his team. So that's something I want to talk about too in a little bit. Mr. Takai, he tried to stand up to giants, and in doing so lost, I think, his original passion and kind of tried to find the reader's passion. Then he would shift back and forth, and it just became muddled. So that was an example. Again, it's still a very stellar work that very few people could even bring a torch to, but for a reading experience for me. But okay, let's go over here. All right, coffee's kicking in, and I lost where I was going. Mr. Takai. I don't know where I was going. I don't know. I'll let it see if it can slip in as my brain just went poof, washed it on out. Howdy, Arno. Howdy, Arno. Also, the example was when I was talking about working with someone that also has their own thing. Yes, yes, you and Dollar Coins both. In fact, Dollar Coins is, I think, he laid out the 20. It's 100 light novels he has planned, but it's 20 story arcs. No, it's 20. It's in here. Why do I just talk when I can just look at it? He laid out what Cactus Coyote is. I think he's getting writing books now. Okay, it's 10 volumes. A variety of volumes per arc, or variants of arcs per volume. So I think it's 10 volumes, 20 arcs. Yes, that he has laid out here for Cactus Coyote, that he's going to hit those first before production. So folks are actually going to be able to read a lot of Cactus Coyote soon. When he gets into writing, he tears through it, man. So I would be surprised if it's soon, but he's got it structured out for me, and you can see all 20 arcs, and I think it would be 50 volumes if it was going to be a graphic novel. Howdy, Mr. Schmeling. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, so that was the thing. The main point of this I kind of talked about. I guess we'll just go back to the main point. We'll actually move to the other fella. Because I forgot what the other point, why I wanted to come back to this screen was. There was a point to it, but it's gone. So, I don't have this still on the Shaman King phone. Let's go back. Yeah, look at my bookmarks. Aren't they amazing? Okay, I was looking for that one in particular, so it bugs me because when I go here, no quote tweet my ass. Liar. There we go. Okay, I want this one open too, just so we can compare and contrast. So, again, incredible creator, great artistic talent. The story he tells, there are bits that are pure gold in Shaman King, and there are bits that are messy for the storytelling flow. And his characterizations, particularly of the main protagonist Yo, Mr. Yo Asakura. Asakura. One of the coolest ways to go about a protagonist I've come across. If people like Vash, because he is a pacifist and he's kind of go with the flow, happy-go-lucky, but extremely skilled. Yo is not a pacifist. He's not happy-go-lucky, but he is like the perfect go-with-the-flow protagonist. And like Luffy's a go-with-the-flow protagonist, but he's very like energetic and gruff and blunt, right? Yo is super gentle and super it's floaty. Like again, one of the things is everything will work out. You just got to have faith. That's one of his biggest things. That's why I really like Yo, because it's one of mine as well. But throughout it, he does get aggressive. He needs to be the Shaman King. And there's different points of that. He learns and grows to figure out what that might actually have to mean as he's facing his evil twin. Yes, the main villain in this is an evil twin. But the beginning of it is this supernatural... it's showing the dynamics of what a shaman is. And it's so much better before it gets to the Shaman King tournament. If he could have spent more time building the characters, building up Yo in that more almost, I'm going to use Hellblazer as an example, but it's not Hellblazer. It's certainly not that rough. It's like shonen, you know, it's much gentler. If he didn't turn it into a battle manga, and it was always partially, and it was always meant to have this shaman tournament and all this. It's not like he switched on the fly. But if he had spent more time developing that, which I thought was probably more of his passion, because you could feel it, the stories he was telling between these ghosts that he's helping, just felt so much better than any of these fights that he has to do, where he's just like, well, I'm trying to keep up with One Piece, I'm trying to keep up with Dragon Ball, I'm trying to keep up with Naruto, and trying to satisfy those same readers. If he would have tried to satisfy other readers, maybe the work would have been better, but it would have maybe not been as popular as it was until it finished. I don't know. But let's talk about somebody whose work isn't popular, but it is it is just stellar. It is somebody who makes comics the way he wants to make comics and does them beautifully and has the single best expression well, here I'll just read it out for you folks. This is Sakamoto. So we're gonna go ahead and read through this. So this work will not be for everybody. It's called Innocent, and then it had a sequel series, which is basically it. It's still the same storyline. It's just he had it broken up into 2 parts because it follows the sister a little bit more in the second part than the main character in the first part. But it's historical, relative nonfiction in the French Revolution about the executioner who executed the most people in French history during that and helped develop the guillotine. And it's about the plight of the French people during that time, what led them to the revolution, how he uses metaphors for visuals. But let's go through here. One of the characteristics of his manga is that it doesn't use onomatopoeia. There's no boom, crack, slam, none of that. Just God, that one. Little girls walking through it, how the thing opens. Little girls walking through her garden or whatever. It's a relatively rich aristocracy looking area. It's a mansion, right, or a villa. And she peeps through this keyhole and you see this torture chair. But anyway, as he pursues reality and truth, he always tries to make it his priority, pursuing reality and truth. Rather than crash, he believes the sound of a glass breaking in the reader's mind is the closest one to reality. It means he can rely on that relationship of trust with the reader when he draws his manga. And that's something sorely lost quite a bit often. Within this interview I watched, he also talks about how, since readers have grown up and have been reading manga forever, he's able to do this. He wouldn't be able to if he was writing for younger readers. Right? This is very adult. Like I would say, it goes places Berserk wouldn't have. Berserk goes darker and angrier than Sakamoto, but Sakamoto goes again, he pursues reality and truth, so it goes very bad. Quarterings, there's a quartering that goes wrong because one of the competitions for the head executioner of France, one of the competitors trying to take this guy's position who he thinks didn't rightfully earn it, he sabotages the horses that are going to quarter this guy. And executioners, especially that time, took great pride in clean executions. Showing that cruelty is not justice, right? They're not there to torture the individual. They're there to end it. And so he sabotages the horses so that they're weak and they actually can't pull this guy apart. So he's just sitting there screaming and getting pulled, right? Everything's down the joint. He's just screaming. He's a guy who tried to assassinate the king because he wanted to see if the king could bleed red. It was at that point, they were calling themselves blue bloods, right? They were better and more genetically advanced and all that bullshit. And so he tried to assassinate King Louis. And so he got quartered. But the little girl ends up telling him how to do it because she's broken and she's one of the protagonists, I'm going to call him. Again, don't think good guy, one of the protagonists in this story. Very broken young girl who grew up in this executioner's family who very interested in anatomy is the kindest way to put it. Vivisection and dissection when she's like 5 or 6, right? Not the broken individual. But it's another one where it's just a different time, and he tried very hard to put the truth and balance of that time, the grounding of that time into the reader's mind. This was the most riveting piece of sequential art I have ever read. I read it New Year's last year. Mr. Dollar Coins there turned me on to it. I was like, oh, what's this? And I started it. And the pacing was gorgeous. The artwork is this beautiful, just expressive. Just that's some of his line art for one where he's trying to convey an avalanche. And since people don't know what an avalanche sounds like, he's like, well, people have seen a lot of buildings falling. So I'll use that to convey the sound instead of a big crash or a boom, right? So good. It's so good. But through it, again, it's super riveting, but it's horrific. It starts with the young man being like, you're going to be the next one. And he doesn't want to hurt anybody. He's a young man. He's a gentle, soft kid. His first execution goes terribly. He basically like cleaves into the guy, doesn't finish him, and then he has to smash his head with the blunt end of the blade because he's just freaking out. He's 14 in front of a huge crowd trying to kill somebody. Like, yeah. But it was like 176 chapters that I couldn't stop. It was like 13 hours of reading. I just burnt through it. I could not stop myself. It was so riveting. It paced so well. The characters were so vivid. The emotional notes he was able to convey, the quest for freedom of the French people at that point, the anger, how he was able to basically, his metaphors are amazing. Like this example, using a building crashing to convey the sound of an avalanche to a reader, just trying to get them closer to that sound, because they won't know what it is, but they've seen blockbuster movies, so they have an idea, right? It's very smart. There's a scene where the crowd, the build up, finally when it goes to rage in the streets with the actual revolution, and they're dragging people out of their homes, all that fun, disgusting things. It just becomes this big tide of anger, and it's a golem. He uses a metaphor, it's this giant golem just raging through the city, chasing people. But you never, it's a big fantastical, imaginative way of conveying it, but you never feel like it's a fantasy. It was just a stronger way to convey the idea than just a bunch of people. Just a genius, in my opinion. The guy is incredible. But his work does not get this big mainstream success. Skip track.
As you wish.
But he leaned fully into his passion and how he wants to create and what he wants to do with his work. There's another at the same time. So you don't see the guy smashing the kid, the 14-year-old kid who slips into Think's blood. Oh, God's terrible. You don't see him actually smashing the guy's head. No. You see a pomegranate getting ripped open. There's just like little things like that. He's beautifully skilled at metaphor to get the reader to imagine something, because he believes the reader's mind is the thing that will imagine something more powerful than he can render. And I think that is just a wonderful way to communicate artwork. And you don't have to do it with all these horrible big moments, right? Again, he does it here with an avalanche. It's not that bad. But throughout most of Innocent and Innocent Blood, the metaphors are to make the horror that much stronger without actually having to render the horror. Because also in this interview, he goes to pray before he does most of his work, because it's not pleasant. Even when he's using these metaphors and obstructions and illusions to make it less directly your hand rendering suffering, right? It's still there. The weight of that is still there. I very much appreciate that. But this is someone who leaned fully into the passion, and we don't really know him in America. You can't read his work here in English without going to a fan translation site. In fact, it's been translated everywhere else but in English. So you can get it in Spanish, you can get it in Japanese, you can get it, of course you can get it in Japanese, you can get it in French, you can get it in German, I think, but you can't get it in English. And I'm very uncertain why that is. Particularly because you think if anyone's going to have any problems, it would be the French. But it's somebody who makes it and makes enough to do something really quite spectacular with the work, but doesn't do it to satisfy the reader so much as to tell his story in a way that satisfies the reader. Whereas you'll have other creators and comic book folks who create purely to satisfy the reader, and you'll get works that, to me, don't really have a heart to them, but satisfy readers. And that's the other way. But if you try and do both, you might lose your path, like Takai and Shaman King did. You might not. One Piece, I think, is another one that does it great from both perspectives. He tells the stories he wants to tell, but he's also able to satisfy the readers. It's a rare individual who can have their cake and eat it too. Toriyama's one of those too, and they keep dragging him back in. I really like that both of you give me great feedback on it. Oh, I'm glad on that. Do us a favor, never stop being inspiration. I'm always glad to hear I am. Let's talk about the work as the physical, manifestations in the comics and all that fun stuff. But that's a very small part of what I'm trying to do. That's why it angers me. I will use the term angers when people devalue the medium of comics by using it as a stepping stone to something else. Not only are you blind and how unlikely that's going to happen, but it's an art form. It's a beautiful way to express yourself. It's no less valuable than painting, than sculpture, than filmmaking, than music. It's no less valuable. All of those things are incredibly beautiful pieces of the human soul laid bare before us all so that we can share in the collective glory of what we are. But comics somehow is kid stuff and a stepping stone to other greater things that are using them. It's super depressing. But my work here is to make sure that the people who do get into comics and make comics don't get disheartened and stop. Sure, I'm very critical because I love craftsmanship. If you could show that these works have craftsmanship and have quality and have heart and strength to their storytelling, have fun, emotional engagement, then you're raising the medium. If you're just doing it for fun to express yourself, you're raising the medium. But at the same time, some people can do much better than they do. And sometimes they don't know they can't. Sometimes they refuse to. Either way, if I recognize that, part of who I am is to say, hey, over here. And if they don't listen to it, they don't listen to it. I never try to do criticism to tear anyone down. That's never my point. My point is to try and recognize where you can raise yourself up. But who knows? Here's some more bits from Mr. Sakamoto. If a manga is to be defined by its panel layout, using the rhythm of the panels or drawings, if he can manage to make readers imagine those sounds, then he feels that onomatopoeia aren't needed. Again, very delicate, beautiful line work. He actually has his staff dress up in period costumes, and then they render those pictures, and then his staff helps render the clothes. He does the faces and the emotional stuff, but the staff does the backgrounds, it's the clothes, that kind of stuff. But this is someone to me who raises the medium, whether or not they're heard much, and especially since he fully understands rhythm and pacing. Again, this is conveying a viper's kiss, right? During a political meeting or whatever. Just flower eyes. Just incredible. Just an incredible expression. If you have the stomach, or if you're interested in history, I do recommend checking out Innocent Blood. You will have to look it up online, and you will have to read it off of a fan translation site. Again, there's no other way to get it unless you can read Japanese or read Spanish, which is nice. If you can read Japanese, you can get both series for like $100, which is incredible. I really wish I could. Oh, okay. It looked like I was losing. Yeah, no. I did lose. I'm sure I dropped a couple frames. That's it. That's good. Looked like I was losing it entirely. But, yeah. There's other pieces from Sakamoto. Let me look for those real quick. Just so you folks can see more of what I'm talking about. It's this gentle, flowing, very feminine art style, but at the same time, he's able to convey quite some horrific things. It's a wonderful balance he's found. And some of the other bits too. One of my favorite quotes that doesn't tend to get traction from him, but was on here. I think I'll find that before I find the line art. I bookmark a lot of things, mainly to keep me on my path, because when I look through them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's important. Let me keep going. No. It's pretty far back then. but he has a similar mission. You know how a lot of mangaka do a quote in between chapters, or a talk with the readers, whatever. So here's one of the reasons I really like Yo. So again, not Takai had a wonderful character. That characterization never stopped. But there'll always be a way. If you don't take a chance, nothing will be good. Yo is exceedingly inspirational for that. But let me keep going. Carl Young stuff. Keep going. Come on. Some Flork stuff. Flork can be as well, even as weird as some of this stuff can be. Man, when he hits a good, wholesome moment, man, it's hard to outdo that sock puppet. Man, there's a lot of good stuff I've seen. So this is from the Alita Battle Angel, one of the spin-off kind of side stories from one of the side characters in Alita Battle Angel. I think took place before he kind of rebooted the series with Last Order. Not rebooted, continued it, but he took a long time to get there. A Better Pro is someone who's found their right place. It was about a journalist. She wants to become a journalist. She's a young girl, and it's her trying to figure out what it means to be a professional, like what it means to be someone with skill. And so I say that. A Better Pro is someone who found their right place on their own. They weren't put in their place. That one's great. But I like this one a lot too, and this is from Last Order. So this part doesn't really matter. Sex is like a male version of her that was kind of a clone, but has his own mind. He's a very cool character too. But maybe I don't need anyone but myself. That's the other thing. He's hyper individualistic and thinks he can get anything done by himself if he just works hard enough, right? But she can't help but feel that all the people I've met have made me who I am. The fact that I'm even here now is only thanks to them. And that's one of the big divergences between her and him throughout it. And the main thesis of Battle Angel Alita is how many parts of a person can you replace before they're no longer that same person? For her, it's her history, it's her memories, it's her body, it's her soul in some cases. I mean, he explores it to every level. It goes to biologically with vampires at one point. You don't get it until, 4 or 5 volumes into that storyline, and it finishes, and then goes back to the main storyline, and then it connects, and you're like, oh, that's why he did it. But before that, man, that was the rough patch for Battle Angel Alita. It's just like, why the fuck am I reading a vampire story now? But it ends up making sense to the overall thesis of the work. This is another one with just a beautiful thesis for somebody who had something very particular to say and has been satisfying readers with action in between saying those things. And this is one of them. Is that, these are all people from after her rebirth. In fact, that's the vampirist right there. That, she's going to be growing, whether she's I forgot her original name when she was a kiddo, which is what his current series is about. Mars Chronicle is about her as an actual biological child and her path to becoming who we learn is Alita in the junkyard, right? Even the first thing of finding her as a junkyard and then rebuilding her and then becoming her father again, giving her a new life, and her discovering that new life while discovering her past abilities. Just wonderful expression of figuring out what it is to be human and not losing yourself along the way, but growing. I love that manga so much. I'm going to, once I catch up on One Piece, I'm going to do I don't know if it's going to be chapter by chapter or volume by volume, but that's my goal, analysis of Battle Angel Alita. All of it. It's going to take a while. I think I'll have a lot of fun doing it. I want to learn from it. So good. I was looking for Sakamoto Sensei here, so give me a second. Just character design stuff. It should have been... Did I remove those? So I think no, it would be before then. Got my timeline. But yeah, here's some more art from Sakamoto. One of his spreads. So this is the historically inaccurate part, is this character, her whole storyline. She's the sibling to the main protagonist, but she becomes a protagonist in the sequel series, becoming this highly skilled executioner on her own, and then ends up becoming part of the Revolutionary Army. But this is her crashing one of those banquets. Yeah, I thought we'd get a little closer. But just beautiful. Fabric in particular, these folks are just excellent at inking. She does shave the side of her head. She ends up having a kid. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Her storyline is more entertaining than the main one, but the main one has a deeper message to it. But her story is really interesting, especially when she becomes a mom. Like, you don't expect it at all. And then how she treats motherhood. Very primal. Oh God, this moment. Okay, here's another piece. There's no truth in this world, then we will never become adults. This is one of the guards in the ritual of executioning, right? He falls in love with this young woman, and then she's going to be executed for some bullshit crime, whatever. And like he knows he can't do anything to save her, so instead he grabs her before she's gonna die, and they both just dive onto the bayonets. Super romantic, super tragic. That's the other thing. Sakamoto's sense of romance is beautiful. It's really tragic in a lot of cases, but it's quite beautiful. So that's what's happening here. So he's like, nope, we're just gonna die together instead. This was the quote I was looking for. The path I've selflessly chosen for myself is a rough, uneven road. I tripped again and again, got stuck in the mud, and crouched down, unable to walk forward. But when that happened, someone reached their hand out to me. So now I call out to my juniors that are struggling now, like people used to do for me. That's one of the most wonderful expressions of the artistic continuity that can exist between artists. Whether they're reaching out through their art or they're personally reaching out as a mentor. That's the bit. That's that's the key. Whether you say what you need to say or not in your lifetime, if you help someone continue to do what they need to do, and I think you fulfilled something quite wonderful. And so that's part of the bit, right? That's part of. You're talking about being inspirational, or no? That's one of the paths I had to save that, because it's exactly what I would like to do. So yeah, that's what I was looking for. Oh, and then this one. It's one of the reasons the French Revolution kicked off. Marie Antoinette had this massively, the most expensive necklace ever built at that time, ever put together. She had that she spent the money on that while people are literally eating each other in the streets to survive in France. A very tragic scene he uses to communicate that was going on. But it gets stolen on the way to her. And then there's a whole conglomerate trying to sell it, and all that's a side story, right? But that's what set it off, and so that was part of it. It's like, do not fear to fight. Their symbol, right, is just this incredible excess while everyone's dying in the streets from this royalty. And their ignorance, and it's part of what I'm communicating in Jack 4, because it's a similar story to the Four Sides of the Buddha, which is what Jack 4 is based off of Siddhartha awakening from the palace into reality, death, sickness, what it means to be human, and the tragedies and hardships we take that often royalty for a very long time was completely ignorant of, even if they were good people, had a good heart, and they would have done something, they didn't even know about it. That was a separation between nobility and the rest of humanity, and it still exists. And it's an absolute tragedy that still exists, honestly. It's different, and has a lot more built-in bitterness to it from the top to the bottom, but it still exists. And that's what this was a symbol of, was there was a literal physical manifestation that jewelry, using the most expensive jewels ever put together into one piece, being sent to the French aristocracy while their people are eating each other in the streets to survive. And so again, Jack 4 deals with four sides of the Buddha, which is much gentler explanation of that dynamic between the upper class and lower classes, but it's still it's the same point. But that was it. That was the piece. It's insanity. But do not fear to fight. Change the arrow with your own bravery. It's one of the bits. It's kicking off the revolution because they had a literal physical item to focus their rage at, because she was that crazy. And throughout the work, throughout Innocent Blood, he communicates that these people were not evil people. They were very ignorant and privileged people. And by the end of it, like, finally I forgot which Louis it is, but the king who married Miss Antoinette, he realizes that he tries to change things and it's just far too late, and he helps the guillotine become a thing. He finances it, he gets his head cut off by it in the same way thousands of others of his people had their heads cut off by it. It's the great equalizer of that time. That was the whole point of it, is they wanted to be able to kill everyone the same way every time, instead of training one individual who will get old or may not be as skilled as their father was in doing it, right? That was the whole point, is to try to, in death, we should all be equal, nobility or anyone else. At the very least, we can do that for each other, which is a tragic fucking idea, but at the same time, I at that point in time, I understand how it was. And he communicated it beautifully, and I didn't think about it that way. I never dove into anything like that before that. And again, it's the most riveting, enthralling piece of work I've ever read. I don't want to make anything like that. Not only don't I have the talent, but it's just not my cup of tea in terms of what part of my soul I want to put out there. But that can be done in this medium is incredible, and it's at the height peaks of almost selfish expression, because I mean, it's a very niche topic to have tackled. Historical fiction is very niche. Then you put it into comics or manga, it's even more niche. Then you put it into it's seinen, but it's got more of that feminine feel to it because of his art style, and it's got a lot of other again, he's truth, and so there's a lot of there's some homosexual relationships in it. There's a lot of stuff that like Berserk's super adult, super seinen, but at the same time, like, nudity, all that stuff, right? But at the same time, like, Berserk deals with it more of a trauma thing, right? Like, it has rape, but it's traumatic in terms of like how he puts it forward. There's a couple like really nice pieces of romance. I would have loved to have seen Miura Sensei actually focus more on that, but he didn't have the time. And in fact, he started to. He was getting there towards the end, and it's tragic that he didn't get to see it through, but it's kind of neat that hopefully we'll get to see Guts see it through. But it's rough. Like, I don't want to make comics of that spectrum of weight. Like, that's not something I need to tackle. But at the same time, I very much respect those who are able to, and to do it with dignity, and to do it with beauty, and to do it with truth and honesty and respect. Yeah. But yeah, folks, that was the main bits I wanted to chat about on this. It's just that it's important you find a balance or pick a path between your passion and what readers need. If you focus entirely on readers, you will probably burn yourself out chasing a probably intangible objective. Whereas if you go fully on passion, you better have artistic intent and ability behind it. Otherwise, readers will not connect with it whatsoever. And most of us will find somewhere in between. And if you can find that and write it perfectly, then you're good. If you can't find it, then you might end up very disillusioned with your work, like the Shaman King creator was. And you can feel it through the work, and it's rough because extremely talented individual. Yeah, that kind of covers it. You probably noticed over months it's been the same notes that I'm talking about, because that's the direction I wish to travel, and I'm trying to figure out that path. And this is a big aspect of it, right? Jack was born 100% on passion, and it has the artistic weight behind it, but the physical and material journey to getting that together is far too slow to do the work I feel I need to do. And so I need to find a different balance, and I need to find one that'll resonate with readers enough to make it financially stable so that it is something that I can explore fully. Whether that's 100 chapters or it's 10, right? Whatever the next is. Should be more than 10. This one's going to be 6, and then I think Jack is as a series, Jack Iron Steel Cowboy, not as a character. I'm still pretty damn sure I don't want to. I would rather build around that icon from the bottom up, using what I've already done as kind of a center pillar to the structure, than tear it all down. That's still where I'm leaning, because I don't have another icon in mind that can communicate and do the work that I need to do like Jack. Jack's just a part of it, but it is a very strong part of it. So yeah, I'll have to continue feeling that out. That's going to take time to get these things done, particularly on the financial level. But yeah, luckily this month I actually did get a very well-paying Pet City gig. I did that yesterday, fucking 14 hours. I was out of town, and then I had to drive another 4, right? 2 there and the 2 back, to get that done. But it paid very well. It made it worth my while to do that. And they're coming up to this area for the next 2 gigs. So I actually am not losing money this month for quitting my job, which is incredible. But there's nothing else lined up after that. So that's spooky as shit. But I'll take the blessings as they come in, and be grateful that I'm doing okay. August 30th, I'll be meeting with the lawyer. He thinks it'll only take a little under an hour to get me set on the right path. I'm hoping it'll take less than 3, because I can't afford more than 3, because I think it's a bit more complicated than he realizes. But I don't know. Maybe it's less complicated than I think it is. It's a very scary thing for me. It has been for me. But once that's set in motion, I'll have a tremendous weight off my shoulders, and then I'll have the ability to do crazy things if I feel that's what I need to do. You think pushing through regardless can be worth it. Sometimes the zeitgeist changes and a work might gain more readers because of it. That's also very true. That's the bit, right? Sakamoto, he has a very specific vision and he executes it. Readers basically not be damned. He respects readers probably more than almost any other comic creator I've ever come across. That's a big thing to me, is respect the readers. They're smarter than you give them credit. But he's 100% on passion, right? He's there to satisfy the readers with his vision. He's not there to satisfy the reader's vision. Which sometimes I've seen Toriyama do, right? When it became, basically when Dragon Ball shifted to Z, that's what he was doing. Because he was satisfying the reader's vision more than his. And he's very good at it. But you could tell he did so much more work in gag manga. That's where his heart was. And he went to battle manga. And has continuously been drugged back in. He's good at it. But I think he did try to do gag manga again with God, the alien that shows up in Super, Gyro, I don't remember his name. Jocko. I think it's Jocko. Alien Cop Jocko or whatever. He went back to gag manga, and that didn't take off. Poor guy. And so I don't want to be that guy either who's stuck doing something that he probably does love and he has a passion for, but it's not the core of why he creates, as far as I can tell. Whereas, Dragon Ball, I could feel that every bit of it. And then what was it? Dr. Slump as well. You can feel that. It's very different than what it feels like to read Z or Super. Yeah, so Super went more like sitcom-y, which was nice. Like, you have Vegeta cooking, and you have just random stupid things in it. So I'm glad he was able to do that. But I still think it's a compromise, and I think that's what he's had to do his whole career. And that's, very successful. He's propped up the manga industry pretty much for a very long time. He's inspired many other mangaka to create. One Piece, in it, he talks about how Toriyama inspired him, and then later on, by about chapter 80, he's talking about the My Hero Academia creator coming in, and he's like, shows the fan art that he originally put into One Piece when he was like 14 or whatever, the mangaka, little stuff like that. And then there was another one that he talks about, shouted out in SBS, his little reader talk column that's after like every couple chapters. But it was so cool to see the My Hero Academia thing like that. So the cycle is important there, and continuing the work is important there. But yeah, Super definitely has more Dragon Ball than Z. That's for sure. That's for sure. But it's also like, how far can now it's multiverse. I don't think you can't go much further than that. So I think pretty soon they're not going to be able to get him to create more. The first ending to Dragon Ball is good. The ending to Dragon Ball, the Cell Saga, which was, I think, the second ending, was good. The ending to Boo was excellent. I loved it. The ending to GT was really good. I don't know how Super's going to end. I hope it ends well. Goku needs to rest. Like, he's died so many times. Let him actually rest. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I just got to the part in One Piece where Luffy's now being called the Fifth Emperor. So that's interesting to me. Whole Cake Island, it got better. It wasn't great, and then it got good. And then, like, yesterday while I was watching The Dogs, I read, like, 4 volumes. And it was good. It was good. I liked Whole Cake Island. I was impressed. So I'm curious where it's going now with Wano. Should be fun. Just starting. Luffy just got his 1.5 billion berry bounty, which is neat. BB Super is also giving an interesting message. The ever stronger getting characters have to learn that they can't get too cocky. That's important, right? Like, and that's a bit with Mangaka as well. You get too comfortable, your work suffers for it because you stop growing. It becomes stagnant. The readers notice it's stagnant, and you lose a little bit of desire to work on it. Luckily, that's never been my case so far. I love the work so very much. I just wish I could do more of it. That's where I'm at. It's like, yeah, I know it. I love it. I know how to do it. How can I do more of it? And I hit a wall. And, learning to scale it, dig under it, smash through it, go around it. I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't know what a lot of these tracks are. I don't know where they're coming from, but I like them. But yeah, I don't know. I also read most of this, and it's not good. It's not terrible. It's not good. It's not terrible. The artist... Is it a writer-artist or just a... no, it's a writer-artist. It's a writer and an artist. Okay, that's good. Because the writer calls out the artist on having same face syndrome, and then within the panels they joke about it, but he does. Like, he does. He has same face syndrome. And his Captain America... Okay, that panel's not so bad. The first one he shows up in. But you know what? This is kind of fun. Captain America's the only one who shows up to Deadpool's celebration about being part of a Japanese Avengers called Samurai Squad. And he invites everybody, and everybody sends him texts like, "We're not gonna come. You're lucky I even took the time to tell you I'm not gonna come." Iron Man, a bunch of that. And then Cap's actually there. And then there's a scene where it's like something about it. Like Deadpool keeps trying to hug people, and Cap's like, "Yeah, I can give you a hug." I was like, okay. The characterization of Cap was pretty fun. And it feels like Deadpool. It feels like Deadpool's character in it. But it's not like the side characters aren't that great. The story's not interesting. The pacing's fine. It reads fine. Character designs are fine. It is same face syndrome. Loki looks like Cap. That looks like actually, those are about the two male characters, and then all the female Japanese superhero wannabes, basically, because there's one who's like a lady Japanese Spider-Man, and then there's one that's a lady Japanese Venom, and it's but it was readable, but it was the only thing I didn't finish that day that I started. So I should say something. Welcome, Dollar Coins. Welcome. Told folks you got the light novels coming, so now you've got to do them now. All 10 of them. People are expecting them. Chop, 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 chop. Good sir. No, kidding. As you do. I don't think there's anything else particularly super to talk about, but yeah, I hit the main theses of it. I don't know. There's a second volume of Deadpool Samurai. Maybe it gets better. Loki's the main villain. I ended on this panel. Start of a new chapter. So it's Deadpool. He's teabagging Loki's face after smashing into a window and then through a window. Again, it feels like a Deadpool comic. They did not, I don't see Marvel getting pissed about bad characterization, though they don't tend to care about it anyway. Apparently this showed up in Jump. It's not that gory, so that would make sense to me. I don't know. It's fine. It's not bad, but I was expecting better because I heard a lot of good things about the Joker Batman one that was done. I picked up the Deadpool just because I was curious. So I don't know. There's a second volume to it. I'll let you folks know. The first one's it's fine. I've liked Deadpool, but I've never read anything of his that's like, oh, that's stellar. That was so fun. That was fucking hilarious. Like, it's always kind of like, eh. And this definitely sits up in there. It's definitely, eh. It's fine. But I did not want to finish it. So, or, at that point, I didn't feel like finishing. So that to me tells me a lot. When even the messy Shaman King I'm reading, get through compared to it. Soon, writing unrelated stuff while doing it as well. Good, yeah, man. This guy's always hustling. Always hustling. Commissioned another Yorsi cover. Oh, dope. I'm very grateful because I really like their work. That's if you want me to plug your books, I'm happy to, brother. I just don't know if you do. Just let me know if you do because I'd love to show them that cover. It's very cool. Yorsi is a fantasy illustrator. Yorsi Hernandez. Come across her work quite a few times, and I just thought it was stellar. It's very realistic, but it has a gorgeous painterly style to it. And I was so stoked when he's like, hey, I commissioned this for one of my novels. I was like, oh, cool. So, yeah. Cool. Glad to see that. Very neat individual. Hustle's real. So very real, folks. So very. But yeah, I hit the main points of today. The main thing is, I think it is easier to create 100% from passion and what you want to do, but at the same time, it may not resonate with readers. Whereas if you're trying to chase what the readers want, it's probably unlikely you'll find it. And I think that's very much a problem. So you have to find somewhere in between and hope that it lands. And that was the main point of the whole everything I've been talking about today. Game today, I don't know. I'd like to, but again, like nothing interests me anymore. I'm at such a low point. Like I installed Multiverses just to try it out because I was a Smash Brothers fan for a while. It's fine. Played it for like 20 minutes. I was like, oh, okay. Meh. I still would like to beat Elden Ring, very much so, but I don't know. I'd like to do something like that today. I haven't had like a... Technically, yesterday was a relaxing day, but those poodles very much need reassurance. That was the big thing. It's like they were in a strange place, and anytime like a car came by this place off of this place in Santa Fe, they freak out. And one of them, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." And I have to go and reassure them. And it was quiet, and then I can get back to reading. A lot of that. Lita came with me. At least I didn't have to leave her by herself for like 14 hours. She did fine. They didn't. I'm gonna say they didn't get along, but they also didn't fight. You know, they stayed apart most of the day. One of the neighbors, God, that was... Keep your dogs quiet. It's like, they're not my dogs, but yeah, sorry. And so that stopped us from spending much time outside in play, where they would have probably gotten along more, which bothered me. And it reminded me why I never lived in a city, let alone in a city. Because fucking A, it's just the pulse of humanity, sirens, all that stuff. Just like, oh my God. I don't know how you people can do it. I don't know how people, like, even more so, I don't know how people can live in like a jam-packed city in an apartment. I don't know how people can do that. I cannot stand people to that level. I can't. I'd rather live in a tent in the woods. Like, by far, with no amenities. Than that. Like, even just 13, 14 hours of that again was just like, fucking hey. I don't know how people deal with people. We can beat Ellen Ring, yes. You reached for issue 105 for Lucid Night. Oh, right on. For you. Catherine. Yeah, that's possible. And you were thinking of starting Persona 4 Golden on your end so you could watch me and my friend. That might be smart. You hate being in the city yourself. Yeah, and not only that, it's like so expensive. So I guess the place that they're staying in, the Airbnb, is owned by an actor on Breaking Bad. Which makes sense because it was filmed in Mexico, right? But he had like this big arrogant plaque of himself with his face plastered over. It's like, you're staying at my house and all that, right? And then like most of the the art installations were literally male chickens. They were roosters, cocks. There was like 5 or 6 cocks fucking placed everywhere. And I was just, oh my God, this guy. This fucking guy. So that was, I mean, it made me chuckle, but I don't know if he thought he was being sly. Like, I don't know why it was. I don't know. Made me chuckle. The place was fine. None of the hinges on the doors were very good, and like the back door you couldn't even close with the part of the handle that goes in. You had to do it with the top lock, and that was the only reason it would close. Like, for how much those folks probably paid to be at that Airbnb, like, it is not maintained. It bothered me. Bricks that they had for a step, some of the bricks were like at an angle towards the end of it, so if you weren't paying attention and you're dragging your feet, stepping down or whatever. Arrogant bastard. That's the best way I could put it. Just being in that house, I was like, oh my God. But that was fine. Watched a few films. I was actually trying to sleep during that time because I did not sleep. Watched Teen Titans versus Teen Titans. Teen Titan Go to the movies, way better. But it was fine. Like, I still, like, I've only seen the films of Teen Titans Go, and I don't get people's problems with it. I really liked the older Teen Titans cartoon. I thought it was very well done. Definitely on par with the other DC animated series like Justice League and Batman Animated. But like, I don't see Go as a big insult. It's just some stupid kids show version of them. They never tried to be anything else. So that was fine. And then like I had the Fantastic Mr. Fox on in the background. I was trying to nap at one point. But then the rest of it, I just read One Piece. For hours. But I've done that many times. I'm glad to. I couldn't like watch most of anything because even sometimes the TV would set those pups off. So I was glad I brought a lot of reading material. El Polo Loco? It's a chicken restaurant. He's some Spanish guy. For sure. I couldn't. Let me see if I can find him. Now you got me curious. El Pollo Loco is also a chicken restaurant in South Park. I don't think he's not a main character as far as I know, but I don't know Breaking Bad, which is kind of a actor's. It said who he was. I don't remember, like on his plaque, right? Oh, they don't have pictures. Let me see if I recognize the name because it was JD something. I think it was him. Is he just like a? Okay, series cast. This is what I'm. Remember it was JD because that was also the internet password. Unless I'm remembering the wrong show, but I was pretty sure it's Breaking Bad. It's this. No, it's not him. I know who that is. But that was also JD. That's funny. No, it wasn't her. There's a lot more JDs in here than I thought there was. No, wasn't him. God, it definitely wasn't the main character. For how arrogant he was, jeez. I might have the wrong show, but I'm like 80% sure I know. That's him. He was DEA agent Von Cook. This guy. Stayed in this guy's, like, it's a real estate, it's not his house. This guy. JD was born in Des Moines, Iowa. Grew up in Mexico City. This guy. Yeah, it was this picture. It was this picture and then like this huge bio. And then just a bunch of cocks all over that. Just hilarious to me. But yeah, it was this guy. Oh, I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. It was great in the background. Basically, most everything Wes Anderson puts out, I can enjoy. Particularly the animated stuff. What was the other one with the dogs? Isle of Dogs? I really like that too. His film, I like that he's got like a signature to his cinematography that's easily recognizable. A lot of directors do have signatures to their styles, but like it's harder to tell. Yeah, it's this guy. Yeah, I stayed in one of the houses he owns for a day watching poodles, because that's what the world's come to for me. They're sweet poodles, though. A 12-year-old named Olivia, a 13-year-old named Hannah, and then a 2-year-old named Whitney. Whitney didn't ever really like me much. Eventually, I got to the point where like she really liked snoot scratches, so she eventually kind of liked me more and kind of asked for attention, but not much. But the other two just super sweet. I love their pops. Usually they found their place in their confidence, and so unless you really come off as bad voodoo, or hoodoo or juju, you probably can find a place with them. But yeah, they were super sweet. I really liked Hannah. She was so calm compared to the other two. And then Olivia was a grayer one, and she was very protective of the other two. But she was very sweet too. Yeah, it was a good day. It's just, man, I was so tired driving home yesterday. At least the drive I had done like a million times. So it wasn't that hard. I hadn't done it once in a blizzard, in fact. So, yeah, it was good. Again, it was a damn good payday too. Very kind. I don't know what the husband does, but they were here for a their daughter's art gallery showing and talk. And so that's what they're doing Wednesday and Thursday here, my town. They were in Santa Fe for something else that she was doing, and they wanted to go yesterday up to one of our hot springs around here, hot spring spa resort places, and they needed somebody to watch those dogs while they were here. And so I lucked out. They had called 10,000 Wags at some point the day after I quit, and one of my coworkers pointed them my way. So I was very blessed that I have that little bit of paycheck, because I didn't lose money this month, which I could save that and hopefully be able to take care of anything weird that comes up anytime soon. But yeah, it was Poodles. 2 Poodles. But yeah, it was that guy. Breaking Bad is an okay show. You watch it all in a single wait. We're watching up to season 6, falls off the wagon, rushes to the end. Interesting. I've heard good things about Better Call Saul, the spinoff. I've always liked Bob Odenkirk, but I liked him more for like Mr. Show and with Bob and David. And then whatever the other series with Bob and David, like, had a sequel series to it because they no longer had the license from Netflix or something. I forgot that one was called. But I liked his sketch comedy. Oh, and he was also on the Ben Stiller Show, which was also fucking great sketch comedy with David Cross, who's usually his comedic partner. And they did some funny stuff. But that's how I know Bob Odenkirk. I don't know him as a serious actor. Now, most people know him as a serious actor, which is kind of funny. Skip track. Thank you, VoiceBot. Skip track. Bring the metal. Thank you. Something with a bit more energy. All right. But yeah, that does cover most of the points I wanted to hit today, folks. This is the 40th of these Cody Coffee and Comics, my longest running, ongoing series thing. So that's kind of neat to me. We're also hit 40 IronVerse Quickies, so it's kind of 40th IronVerse Quickie was, I don't know, 2 days ago, it says, on Sailor Rogowski. So if you're curious on that, check that on out. Definitely recommend it if you just want the quick review. It's good. Get it. If you want the other bits, check that on out. But yeah, this is number 40. I might do something for the 50th. I don't know. But we should hit that in the next month or two. So that's kind of cool. The other series that was kind of like this that I tried got to episode 13 and then just kind of died because that was What You're Reading. Weird occurrences with that one, especially when I was doing it. And like What You Read 12, which the comments that I talk about in it have been deleted from the comment track, which means the very arrogant individual took the time to remove them, which is funny to me. But I do comment on it. Not a very friendly individual. I was in the right area. There was a story boss around the next quarter. Well, I'll have to show you dollar coins here at some point where I am with it. Because yeah, I'm trying to explore that snow area just to see like where I'm supposed to go, and I don't know. There was another place that I could go in that had 2 of those lions, the chained lion guards in it that I can't beat. Very tough because it's 2 of them at once. It's the first time you got to fight 2 of them at once. I don't know what's in there. I don't know if it's a story thing. But that was one of the other stop places I got like stopped. And then I was just exploring the snow area. I think that's where I was at. Oh yeah, if you folks aren't aware, there is a probably all. Put the link in chat here. I'll show you. Wicked Publishing is doing a giveaway, so if you haven't signed up for it already, please do. A link is in chat here. They hit 3,000 followers. I helped them do that, which was great, especially for the first showing of the paycheck. That was great. Thank you folks for helping on that. But yeah, you'll get free mug, some stickers, a shirt, which honestly I don't like the shirt design, but it's a lot of their design choices I would change up. But that's not for me to say. I just do the social media managing part of it. So free comics. You just gotta comment here, follow, and retweet, and you'll be entered drawing on August 3rd, at the end of the month. I think I'm doing it on the 30th, but we'll see. Yeah, free stuff. If you want free stuff, go ahead, check that on out. Link is in chat above. #GetLiquid. Saw me put together that little image on stream not too long ago. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anything else to chat about. Still really, almost 1,000 chapters. Well, I'm over 900 chapters into One Piece, and I'm still enjoying it. So, that's a massive accomplishment, in my opinion. I think I finally actually finished Whole Cake Island today. Oda likes to have at least 1 or 2 chapters at the beginning of the next volume, even if it's labeled separately, to be like the finishers of that arc. And so this one is labeled, but it actually I'm 2 or 3 chapters into it, and it just finished Whole Cake Island. So we'll see. I'm curious how Wano is. I've got 10 more books, 10 more volumes to get through, and then I'll be caught up with the English releases, which I won't be, I think, in November or December. 101 comes out. And then I'll be caught up with the English releases, which is a heck of an accomplishment, if I do say so. It's a lot to read, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. When is Wicked going to come out with trading cards for all the IPs? So, you know what? There's a lot of talk over at Wicked. And you can see how much that talk manifests. I'm glad to help them out with this social media bit. I'm glad that they said that it is helping take some weight off their shoulders, which I'm glad to do. And it's super helpful for me financially. It allows me to pay my bills right now. So I am unbelievably grateful. But I've made it clear in meetings and such that, there's other ways to handle things that would be more optimal. And we'll see what that manifests into. But trading cards were not on that itinerary. Best way to put it. It'd be cool. I 100% agree. And there's a lot of cool stuff there. The other thing is, though, a lot of the creators aren't that involved over there. So it's tough, right? And one of the reasons they aren't is because that's what a publisher is supposed to help with. It's one of the services they should be providing. So I've tried to help fill that gap since I've taken up that position, but there's only so much I can do without the creators' involvement. So it's tough. You'll see a lot more out of Omen and Revelation Comics, my stuff, and Scott's, because primary ones actively involved. There are a lot of other really cool books under there, and I recommend you folks check them out. But there's only so much I can do from my perspective, and it's a shame. But, hopefully that changes over time. That's my hope with being involved at this level. Should be monthly meetings now, so I can bring up that again. But it's tough. It's tough being a small level publisher. And I would like to see more base level action out of the business end of it than I've seen over the years, but we'll see. Again, I'm going to do what I can to help, but I can only do so much, and there's been points where I feel like, should I even do that? Because where will the follow through be? Because if it's not in my capability to do the follow through myself, it's tougher for me to lean heavy into things, right? So we'll see. But that would be neat. I'm 100% with you there. That'd be very neat. I think it would be a great little piece of merch, and wouldn't be like difficult. It'd be cheaper than doing posters, right? So we'll see. We'll see. I'm very hopeful for these folks, and I give them all the benefit of the doubt, as I have for a very long time. But we'll see. That would be nice. I agree. There's a lot of really cool IPs and a lot of really cool stories, and I'm doing what I can to get more awareness out there. But again, only so much I can do with the materials I have and the ability I have. Yeah, that's the main two things. Oh, let me look. I missed something. You had an idea, but you wanted it to be a surprise, but then you needed to get the digital for issue 1, which I saw that, which you didn't have. Oh, my issue 1, anytime. You have access to anything I do, Mrs. H. Just let me know. I'm not like, I don't think being greedy with my work is going to be helpful at this stage, right? Like go pay the dollar to get it. Like, I'm here. I've got the digital. It literally can be replicated infinite amount of times. I have no problem providing it. But there's a point to like, well, you should be paid for your work, and that's true. But at the same time, it's like, I just want the work to be used. If somebody who's helping me do my work, are you kidding me? So it is what it is. If you talk about my stuff, if you're talking about something else at Wicked, a little bit harder, but it should be up to that creator to provide you with that if you need it. And they send it the next day or something. So that's one of the things at least did get moving next meeting, is the website overhaul. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know what form it's going to manifest in, but the primary reason was automated distribution of digitals, which I can do through my site, and I proved I can do through my site to them. So they should be switching over to the Shopify platform here soon enough. I told them I would be willing to do that, but they need to compensate me for my time. Because it's outside of my contract, right? It's outside of my contract with them, but I'd be happy to do it. And I haven't heard any follow through on that end, but I do know how to do automated distribution of digitals, and it's super fucking easy through Shopify. Like, I'm kind of aggravated I can't do it through my site, but the fact that they have to manually send them all is definitely an encumbrance, especially when somebody buys a digital. It should be instant gratification, right? There's no reason it shouldn't be. If you're buying a physical comic, well, duh. You have to move object A from here to there. You're moving a digital one, moving electrons from here to there. That's not a problem. Moving zeros and ones, imaginary zeros and ones, pretty much. It's not difficult. So that hurdle should be the first thing that gets overcome here soon. I'll bring it up to them again. I know even hiring me at the rate that they hired me at was probably a bit of a blow to their backing there. So I'm trying not to push it, but at the same time, putting up a website like that, doing it nice, it'll take some time. And I'd like to see it done nice, because I spent a good hour of that meeting, and they took it pretty well, because at least half of them were like, yeah, it's true. The other half was, well, I don't know what to do. It's a little bit of striking at the ego, right? Any kind of artistic expression down to something like that. It's the same reason I have trouble with doing my editorial kind of style IronVerse quickies, is because I know some people are not going to take it as intended. Simply because the emotional investment in art. Like, you're putting yourself out there, and sometimes you're going to take something that could have all the love and affection behind it, but is at its core a negative perception of what you did. Yeah, you're probably going to take it personally. So I totally get it. But hopefully that does get moving. That was one of the main things that needs to be addressed. Is Jack on sites like Webtoons? So Jack in black and white is on Webtoons and Tapas. On Webtoons, I was releasing 1 page a week of the color version of it, and that was doing a little bit more traction than I thought it would. And then I stopped because it was just a pain in the ass, and it wasn't seeing like massive traction. And of course, it's on Global Comics for free. But it's on Tapas. In fact, issue number 1 in black and white on Tapastic or Tapas or whatever they call themselves. That's how I got a foot in the door. It's because I could point people to the work and they read it and it was good. As anybody should be able to kick open a door, right? That's the most simple way to do it. I just happened to be at a time where people were also looking for alternatives to the mainstream very, very strongly. So that was nice. But yeah, it's on those. Catherine, 10 minutes. You won't regret it. If you don't like it, you can never play it again. You really want to see my reaction to the base story. Let me see if I have it downloaded, dollar coins. Do you have the panels going vertically, or is it just the page as is? On Webtoons, it's the page as is. I don't even have the patience to do the panel by panel on Global Comics, which I should do. It does increase engagement. It will give me more data on what panels are the most interesting or are speed blocks. It will actually give me data on the flow of the story by actual numerics, right? It would be smart to do it. But, so much patience. And I have a hard time focusing on monotonous things like that unless I feel it's very creative. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it is a fact. I've tried multiple times to do it, and then I couldn't really figure out how to use their tool very well either, because I did try it when I first uploaded. I was like, okay, I'll do the panel cuts, and then I tried it, and I couldn't reset it because I fucked it up, and I couldn't reset it. I was like, oh, and then I actually had to contact the programmer CEO and have him undo it. Because it wouldn't do it, so I interacted with it so poorly that it broke, and so I haven't tried it again since. But it is what it is. I think it would do really well vertically, though. The pacing and layout of Max's pages are very much specifically pages, so I don't know. It'd be an interesting trial, and again, I think it would be smart to have that data. Let me, Catherine, see. Okay, well, it's not saved up in here, so it's unlikely I did download it. Let me look though. Catherine. No, I have it downloaded. Catherine Classic. Add to favorites. Go. Just gonna find it more easier. I do have it downloaded, dollar. Oh, you need an ebook review. Got it. Yeah, I don't know what I'd be getting into with this stuff. So I can see how you want me to react to it, because I have no idea. I've seen bits about it since it came out in 06 or something, but I've never followed through on it. It's just not my direct cup of tea as far as I can tell. This is true. You do. Okay. Skip track. Skip track. Skip track. Skip track. I have fun with this one. It's a good soundtrack. Yeah. I guess that does cover it, folks. What am I at? Almost 2 hours? Yeah, cool. I'll be shutting it down in about 2 hours then. I guess Dollar Coins wrote me into a Catherine stream, so we'll do that. Probably right after, unless I want to eat something, which I might want to do. But expect that later today for the heck of it. Did you just sneeze? How you doing? Yeah, so when I don't sleep well, this kid over here doesn't sleep well, so she's catching up on sleep. We slept we slept pretty good yesterday. Last night after we got back, just finished. Didn't eat all day that day either because I didn't. Anyway, so ate, watched something for a couple minutes, and then went to bed. Then we slept like 12 hours. But she's still sleepy because before that we slept 3 hours, and then we were up for 5, and then we slept an hour, and then we had to drive to, and then stayed there 14, and then left for 2-hour drive still. So I'm assuming this little dog needs more sleep than I do. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Oh, look at me like that. Yeah, Lebeck. Alright. You wanted to have an IronVerse meeting about this a few days ago, but I was doing pool work. This is true. I was. I had access to the internet, right? But like I had no. I brought my tablet with me, so this weird DVD player / tablet hybrid thing. But I ended up not using that at all. Except to retweet a couple things, I think, and then like I just read and paid attention to the end. So it's like, I'm getting paid to be here. But yeah, I still think I could have. Trying to balance Alita and those kids was the main job I did that day, and just make sure they can get out and use the bathroom, and make sure that they felt safe. That was the yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It was a trial, but at the same time, it's a good paycheck, so I'm happy. Catherine back in 06, I probably wouldn't have liked. Okay. It's like Tequila, you have to have some maturity to appreciate more. I could see that. Get beaten down by life a bit. I could see that. Okay. Well, yep, so we'll probably do that. 4 minutes. Lightning round. Any questions anybody has about anything? 4 minutes. That's all you got. And I'll be back. Then when we're doing the gameplay thing, I'll probably have Robo Lady back on. So I'll hear you folks. And eventually, if this channel ever got any size, I actually grew about 15 followers on Twitch, and I don't know when that happened. So we're almost at the 50 followers on Twitch, which gets us closer to monetization on Twitch, which is pretty cool. I don't, expect any actual money, but it would be nice to be able to get super chats. Like, that'd be dope. Let me look. Yes, we're like now 45 followers. Yeah, I don't know when that happened. I was stuck at like 28 forever, so I don't know when that happened, what stream it was, or anything. But since we're doing a gameplay stream next, I'll probably just label it Catherine, and I'll go in Twitch and make sure that is, and see if that helps. One Piece good after Dressrosa was fucking incredible. I didn't know how good it was going to be, and then the line I saved from it, man. When Oda has something to say, he is great at saying it. He did it again. Fishman Island was the other one where it's like, what is this? And then he said what he needed to say with it with Oda Hime. I was like, oh man, so good. I'm so glad I suffered through this. Because the beginning of Fishman Island was just, it was just so slow. And then it was the same with Whole Cake Island. It was really slow. I was like, okay, I'm a little interested. I like Sanji. We get a little bit more Sanji. Okay. This is fine. And then the pudding reveal. I was like, oh, okay. And then the Germa 66. I was like, oh. And then his sister, and then the other bits, and then as it builds, right? This Whole Cake Island builds into the wedding, and then the cake getting smashed open. Like, yeah, it gets so good. So good. It was a great thing to have yesterday. It made the time fly. The Whole Cake Island was good. It was good. How they defeated Big Mom at the end even was pretty fun. Just conceptually, right? And like, he's got me curious. He never directly answered what her backstory was neat also, but he never directly answered what she's an emperor, right? So she's got all this history behind her. She's much older than what we saw even in her backstory. So there's a lot of story there. All of her husbands, all of her kids, right? But her weapons The only ones that we were really told about were how she got Prometheus and Zeus, which was really interesting. They introduced her mama, right? So I'm very curious what that is, like where that's going, because he didn't directly say anything about her directly, and then there's that thing that she doesn't know about her mom. So it got really good, is what I'll say. It got really good. And I just got to the part where Luffy realizes, no, your bounty didn't go down, Luffy. It added another 0. And that's the chapter I ended on so far. And I think that finishes Whole Cake. Because now we're talking about the Revolutionaries meeting again, which he talked about, I don't know, before Whole Cake Island. But now it's actually happening on the... what is that one called? It'd be hard to say, but the Tranny Island. What are they called? Bugs me because it's really neat, and he really he tackles that whole perspective very well. Like One Piece is very body positive. It's incredibly body positive, in fact. I don't think it gets enough credit for because Oda's like jokingly like, here's an X and 2 zeros, and that's how you draw a woman. Because of that, he got a lot of shit. But it's true. He puts like J cups on all the ladies eventually. But at the same time, like the amount of variety of people that are given positive and powerful perspectives within the story and motivations and angles within it, it's incredible. It's incredibly body positive. What's that island called? It's gonna bug me. Sanji was stuck there. It's why he learned how to... That bit's great. It's how he learned how to moonwalk, quote unquote. I think they call it the moonwalk, where they can actually like jump in the sky and jump off of air. That's how Sanji learned it, is because he finally got cornered by all these people who wanted to kiss him, and he had no escape but up. That's how Sanji escaped. And he spends all Fishman Island trying to detox from that, because anytime he sees a woman at that point, it's like it's enough to kill him. That whole point, like that part of Fishman Island, I thought was so stupid. But then when it gets to the point of why it's like that, and that he can now moonwalk because of that, because of the trauma, right? Hilarious and deep, and just great character building. It's just, so dumb. So good. But yeah, I don't remember what they're called, but they're on that island with the King of Queens. Forgot their name as well, but and Dragon, of course. We're still trying to figure out what that's about. Sabo is now a captain. Not Sabo. Sabo's the second in command, but what's his name? The little dork he meets when he's meeting Zolo. In fact, it's the first person he meets before he even meets Zolo. It's gonna bug me because it's another SA name. That's why I thought Sabo. It's not Sabo. It's whatever. The little dweeby kid is now a captain, and he fucking redirected a torpedo by hand now. So it's like, oh, he's a badass now. He's not catching up to Luffy exactly, but he's trying, which is exactly what he promised. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. The intermingling characterizations and storylines and histories, world building, it's a masterpiece, and it's gonna be sad to see it end, but I hope it ends very well. He's being trained by that makes sense. I haven't seen Toby. Thank you. It's not. You might not be able to see why I got those names mixed up, but yeah, it's Toby. It's Toby. Curious about the new One Piece film. Will I watch it? I need to watch the second One Piece film. Z, I think is the second film. So I need to watch that. And then there's these weird remix ones of storylines where they're like meeting Chopper after they met Brooke and Frankie and all of that, where the art style is really neat, but like I couldn't, like the dissonance of them meeting Chopper as the last member of the crew really weirds me out. So I tried starting that, and I was just like, what? And they're not on the Merry Go anymore, and they're on the Sunny too at that point. I'm just like, you're removing so much of the history. But I was just like, well, people like Chopper because he's so cute, and people might jump onto the main series because they'll know not only will it be brought in from seeing Chopper's origin, but they'll also be brought in by seeing all of the characters. And then if you're reinterpreting it, maybe old viewers will come in just to see a different version of the story. But yeah, that was the last One Piece of film I tried. The first one I really liked, Against the Golden Lion. That one was good. I really liked that. I watched it at the time I was reading One Piece, and he said, "Oh, it's coming out," and I did all of this within the SBS, right, within his reader talk column. I was like, "Oh, okay, well now's the time to watch it," and then I watched it. And I think it's about that time on this to watch the second film, so I might do that. But One Piece Red, right? It's to do with Shanks. I really like Shanks. We still haven't seen much of him, but his first characterization of, "Oh, you can spill your drink on me, you can spit on me, but if you mess with my friends," and teaching Luffy how to, the difference between things that are worthy of violence and things that are not. It's very cool. I like Shanks for that. I'd like to see how Garp got his eye scar, because that's the first thing we see in One Piece is Luffy giving himself that same eye scar. I'm very curious. I'm very curious if we get much more Garp. I've always liked Garp. Garp as a character throughout all of it is great. How Oda depicts good in authoritarian systems it does incredible justice to, again, truth. Because there are a lot of good people in positions of power, and there are a lot of shit people in positions of power. And I've liked how he's like, the whole overall structure of the world government is terrible. It's led by very destructive, evil, royal influences, the Council of Old Men, but then you get to the admirals, you get to the captains, you get to the vice admirals in particular. You get Vice Admiral Smoker, for instance, another good guy in a shit position. I think that is wonderful, and that he's able to put that in there, that, even if an entire structure of an authority is exceedingly dark, there are going to be the idealists who got into that from what the lie was and still try and be that idealism and be that good force. And then you've got the grunts who are just there to protect people. And what's his name? The blind swordsman who's recruited after the Paramount War. The guy who the Grav fruit, he's got gravity powers, the gambler. Oh man, I love that character so much. He's just another great expression of that. Because he recognizes how shit the system is when he's recruited, and he's actively trying to change it from within the best he can without ruining his position. And I think Garp does that as well, right? In his own way, right? Saving Gold Roger's kid. Again, it's masterful. And it never feels long-winded to me. Even though I've read 900 chapters, I've never felt any of them were wasted. There was one in Fishman Island that you could tell was really kind of sketchy. Like, it was a bad week for Oda. But that was it. That was it in 900 and change chapters. I see people not liking One Piece. I see people finding it super intimidating to go into, but fuck, is it fulfilling and rewarding and heartfelt and intelligent and funny. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Fujitora, yes. He usually pulls meteors out of space, right? But he's just a grav fruit guy. So good. So good. I love his characterization. I love how he meets Luffy and he's like, well, if I told you, we'd probably have to have some trouble here the first time. I mean, I like him a lot. I like Fujitora quite a bit. I think that was a great addition. And the fact, he cut out his eyes because he was sick of seeing all the tragedy in the world. And he's like, for once, he actually wants to see. Like, there's just these moments that Oda's so good at conveying. Just little pieces of a person's history that you can feel how much they mean. They're not hollow. They're not pretentious. They're just like, this is part of this living, breathing being's history. I don't know how he does it. Because it's so stupid. Like, everything about One Piece it can be very, very stupid. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. The one movie that has Shiki is canon. Shiki. Is that Golden Lion? Because, yeah, they do mention it twice. They mention he escapes, and then they mention his defeat. and that's probably it. That's probably the Golden Lion one, because that's interesting canon, because when it takes place, right? Um, but yeah, One Piece Gold and Stampede. Okay, it's the ones on Netflix, so I'm probably missing those then, because Z is the next one on One Piece that I'm aware of. I think Stampede is the one with Chopper. I don't know. The other new admiral is kind of the opposite. There needs to be an opposite force, so that makes sense. That's the same reason the ice guy, I forgot his name, something with an A. That's why he left, right? He fought with Akainu. I remember him. Mainly because he's one of the, he's got an indigenous name and he works with lava. I was like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, with the fight with Akainu that caused the Punk Hazard Island to be a thing. Ice guy and his penguin. I always liked the ice guy, the guy who saved Robin. It's so good. So many interweaving and well done. Like, I try and read, East of West, or I've tried to watch Game of Thrones. I've tried to watch these things that try to do what Oda does. Like, it fails spectacularly and have no, like, heart or sense of fun to it. That's my big thing with East to West. Like, there's some really cool moments and there's some very cool characterizations, particularly because of Death. He's a very cool character. And the different political factions and all of that. They try to have this big, meaty, interweaving narrative, and it's just terrible to me. People love it. People eat it up, right? It's just, to me, it's terrible. One Piece takes all of that and succeeds and makes it better and makes it fun. It makes you cry over the loss of a ship. I mean, it's so good. It's so good. But again, I can see people who love those things I just mentioned who would hate One Piece. It's different perspectives for folks, but to me, yeah. This is like the apex of sequential art, and storytelling in particular within the medium of sequential artistry. I love Berserk, absolutely, but something about how One Piece can do it and then appeal to such a wide variety of people and not pull its punches without having to go to the depths Berserk had to go to say often similar things. Yeah, it's crazy. 906 chapters, and I have no desire to stop. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I just want to keep journeying alongside them. It's incredibly done. Whitebeard, so I know, because I've seen people do the statues and wood carvings and stuff of young Whitebeard. So I know there's going to be a chapter somewhere in here eventually with a young Whitebeard, and I'm very curious to see that and Goldie Roger. I love Whitebeard's characterization. He will risk everything for one son, and not blood son, his version of a son. What it means. That's the other bit in this. There's a lot of really positive patriarchs and really positive matriarchs in this, just apex level, idealism level, beautiful expressions of parents. You have Nami's mom, who sacrifices herself for her kids because it was the only way out. Again, Orihime, beautiful expression, who knew who killed her, wouldn't say who killed her because that was one of her kids, quote unquote, right? Garp. So far, Dragon's a piece of shit in terms of being a dad, right? He doesn't care. And I'm still not sure Dragon is Luffy's dad. I'm not 100% sure that's true. But we'll see. It's interesting to me. I don't know. It's again, it's a masterwork. It's the favorite thing I've read in terms of just consistency. Innocent Blood, Innocent Blood, incredible. I couldn't stop reading that, and it said all it needed to do in the chapters it did, and it did it with beautiful metaphors, very cleanly. It's exceedingly violent, but it's exceedingly romantic. Very beautiful expression of artwork. Berserk, it's the same thing in terms of violent and beauty, kind of contrasting, and seeing Miura grow less and less throughout its throughout its expression is wonderful. I think that's just a beautiful layer that ended up existing within Berserk. But it hasn't finished yet. I don't know where it's going. One Piece hasn't finished, and I know where it's going, which is funny to me. Wherever it's going, we've had that since the beginning. He never said anything else. He's just built upon it. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm just gushing over that for like 20 minutes, but it's totally worth it. Watch. Yes, I did. I got to the Marineford ones with Whitebeard. I got to Fishman Island with the anime, and then I stopped. And I didn't get to Otahime. I got to the pills being taken. I got to the crew accidentally having to conquer Neptune and everybody in the castle, holding them hostage. I got to Zolo fighting the Hody. I got to Zolo fighting Hody in the water, but I didn't get past that. I lost interest. With one, it's the same thing in the manga, and I took a break for a little bit and read a few other things, and then I came back. I was like, I'll just force myself through this, and then eventually, once I got to Otahime and got to the point, I was like, oh, I'm back on. Oh, I've got to finish this, and I did. So yeah, but yeah, that was like the pinnacle of like almost anime I've watched. Was watching the Marineford arc, everything about it. The tragedy at the end of it, after you've seen how hard through Impel Down and through everything Luffy fought to get to his brother. How hard Whitebeard is willing to fight for his son. Or his sons, period, right? There's the other one that ends up doing the betrayal, right? And that whole bit. Again, just the levels of humanity Oda pours into these ridiculous characters is insane. It's insanity. It's from a genius and a madman. But yeah, it's really worth it. But it's not worth it if you didn't get that far through One Piece, right? You wouldn't have the history. You wouldn't have the weight through it. Like, I think for Marineford, you gotta see Impel Down. For Impel Down, you gotta see the stuff before that, right? So that's the problem with One Piece. If you're not in, you're probably not going to be able to see the good bits of it. There's some works that you can see the good bits and not have to have seen everything before. One Piece isn't so much, and I've heard a lot of people get like 50 episodes in. They get through Arlong Park or whatever, and then they're done with it because it just didn't hold their interest. Sad to me. The moment like it really had me within Arlong Park is the second Luffy puts the hat on and she's like crying because she betrayed and she's out of options, and she just has her friends who she's like, oh, I gotta throw away my friends too to survive this and get this done, and then she just kneels down crying and just asks Luffy for help, and Luffy takes his most prized possession, the most important thing he has, he trusts it to her and tells her, I've got this. It's so good. It's so good. I don't know how people can't fall in love with it. But some people won't. But man, that's just, it's so good. Yeah, Arlong Park's the commitment point. Exactly. And that moment that I just said in particular is the one I was like, yep, I'm on board. I'm on board. Like, Nami as a character's fun throughout all of it. And even when he plays on the tropes and all of it, you get it. I don't know. It's so good. It's so good. At some point, I was talking to Dollar Coins. I mentioned this earlier in the stream, I think before he was here. I'm going to read through Battle Angel Alita and do a probably volume by volume dissection of that. And I want to do the same with One Piece. So we'll see. I think I want to do Battle Angel Alita, then I'd like to do Full Metal Alchemist. And then I'll probably do One Piece. Unless the new Berserk chapter makes me want to reread all of Berserk again. But because I'll be caught up on One Piece before I start Battle Angel Elite. I'm going to always be reading something. It's just how I'm built. It's how much I love this medium. And a lot of these things are not only wonderful escapism, right? I can breathe. They're wonderfully creative. They're extremely thought-provoking. And it helps me build an idea of what I wish to do within the same medium. So for me, it's one of the most important parts of the work. In fact, somebody put up a poll or something like that on Twitter a while back that asked, do you have to read comics to create comics? And of course not. You don't have to. But for me, you're really wasting learning opportunities and just fulfillment and fun and and seeing other people's expressions, the inspiration, right? Of course, you don't have to, but I think if you're not a comic reader, you get into comics, sure, you can create something wonderfully unique that way. But will it be technically sound? I don't know. Will it be incredible? Will it compete with these folks who have been readers forever, right? I don't know. Can you do it? Yes. Should you be able to? Absolutely. Do I recommend it? No. Comics is too hard of a work not to love comics to do, right? Alabasta. Alabaster is incredible. I like that art quite a bit too. And Crocodile's design, right, is so fun. It's just funny to me now, Smoker and Crocodile look almost the same by Punk Hazard, except Smoker has the 2 cigars instead of 1. And then with Smoker and the captain, I forgot her name. She wasn't a captain when you first meet her. Zolo gets one of his swords from her, right? She's really good swordswoman. When they switch bodies. And then, like in the SBS, he talks about, did he just rip her bra off? Smoker always has his chest exposed, right? So when he switches bodies with the female captain, he still has his chest exposed, but it's her chest. It's just little bits like that. He finds ways to put so much humor and humanity into the work. Like, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, Alabasta's great. I'm about to see her again. Vivi? What's her name? She's the other member of the crew that we don't see anymore, right? For multiple reasons. Princess of Alabasta is one of them. The Reverie is coming. So I'm excited to see what the Reverie is going to be, because there's a lot of people that Luffy has helped showing up. Luffy's now known as the 5th Emperor. I'm excited for that. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm excited to catch up. I'll probably tear through these in the next week or two. One that looks like Zolo's childhood friend. Yes, her. Yeah, where he's like, don't say it. You even said it just like her. He's all pissed off about it. Yes. I forgot how she passed in the book. I forgot. But I know she was like, I'm going to be better than you. And she was better than him. And it's why he fights so strong to be the best swords person, because she couldn't. It's his sensei's daughter. I remember that much. God, it's been so long since I read that. That's why it was nice to return to Sanji. Because I kind of had forgotten a lot of the depth that was poured into Sanji. Because he's kind of a one-note guy a lot of the time. Extremely skilled, can literally kick a ton of ass. Amazing cook. But his one note was, I'm the romantic comic relief and the ultimate gentleman. Cool, that's fine. But I forgot why. A little bit, and then going back to Whole Cake Island and that whole storyline is like, okay, yeah. And then he added the extra depths of Germa 66 to it. Really, really well done. And the pudding too, man. That reveal at the end here, I just read, where she's like, I got one thing to tell you before they save Luffy from jumping out of the mirror after he beats that guy. I forgot his name, but the guy was the Mochi Mochi fruit, so he's basically a gum guy, but he's not. It was really, Whole Cake Island became really, really good. I even like Big Mom, and he made her. You can empathize with her a little bit, right? Which is crazy, because she's a soul eater. Right? She's a manipulative, nasty individual, but he was able to make you understand how she became that way, and why she does what she does, and how she can believe that she's the good guy. Which a lot of the best villains in fiction, period, you have to have that grounding. Doctor Doom's a great example. You can understand why he is the way he is. Almost as similar, lost my mom to sorcery, so I picked up sorcery, and it didn't get me to where I wanted to go, so I picked up science, and I fucked that up too, because some other guy ruined my experiment, even though it was never going to work to begin with. But yeah, so good. Alright, I was going to quit here in a second. Okay, Reverie's going to confuse me like crazy with new lore. I'm not surprised. Oh, sickness. Okay, that would make sense for Zolo's childhood friend, or childhood rival as well. And hockey gets foreshadowed so well too. Yeah, it really is. And when Rayleigh really tries to get into it and teach Luffy, he's teaching you at the same time. It's really good. And it was a way for Oda to really write himself into being able to defeat these, what would be almost indefeatable things, any fire, like Ace, any Logia type. That's just like, you can't even hurt him. The gas guy, right? You can't hurt him without this. And it's like, oh, good. He built himself a way out of that. And he built a way for normal people like Zolo or Sanji to compete on those levels without having to consume a devil fruit. I think that's really cool. Makes sense how Mihawk's so good, right, as well. Hockey was a great narrative device and a way to drive all of your characters forward. I think it was a fucking great stroke. Every time I cuss, I'm reminded, which is good. The funk. I forgot about that. Anytime I cuss, it'll tell me because it thinks I'm saying something else. To cut without cutting, as it was worded in German. Yes. When he figures out how to smash steel is like or cut steel is one of the first thoughts. Like that's when he's first starting to understand it. And then again, I talked about earlier, Sanji doing the only way to escape was up. Just fucking great. That's how, CP9 also, all of that whole arc with they have their fruits, but then they also have these masteries of these other abilities that they all have. And you're like, well, how did they all have them? And then the different colors, right? Color of observation, they really dived into in Whole Cake Island, which was great. Armament, the color of armament was a very important one. Again, how could you defeat these Logia type guys who are basically ethereal unless they want to hurt you? That was great. Cut without cutting, as you said. And then, God, what's the other one? Color observation, armament. I think Sanji's also observation, isn't he? I don't remember. But they're all just different skills that a person can master, which is a neat divergence from the simple devil fruit superpower dynamic. And it was a really smart one. As far as I can tell Rayleigh... Oh, Supreme King. That's the one I was forgetting about, which is just overwhelming force in will, right? It's make a great Green Lantern if you have Supreme Haki of the Supreme King, right? Just like Boa too. she's a trip. I could talk about it forever. It's so good, but I think we've almost hit. Yeah, we hit almost another half hour on top of what I was going to talk to you. Just talking about One Piece and how good it is. Conquerors. Yeah. It's Conquerors and then Supreme King. I don't know if that's indistinguishable, if it's the same. Yeah, I know you want outside. You probably got a potty, huh? And Dad's got to stop. So. Yeah, okay. I gotta let the dog out. I will be back with Catherine in maybe a half hour. I do want to eat something. But yeah, you can come on by and chat some more while I'm checking out a game. Did Jazz, the Iron Guy in Alabasta, say in English as well, my friend, do you want to cut diamond next? Oh, that was a chop fruit guy? Is that the guy I'm thinking of? That has the blades, the chop fruit? But yeah, something like that. I do remember that. Coyote, lesson 1, Dumpy. We learn to cut without cutting. Coyote holds up one finger. No, we run away like the cowards we are. See, you're getting too ahead of me. Kaido has a stronger form of that. Ooh, cool. Yeah, I know, right? It's so good. It's so good. All right, but we can talk more when I come back. This kid right here that I am petting needs to probably go use the bathroom, and she's being very polite about it. But she went and sat by the door and then went, ugh. And then when I didn't pay attention to that, now she's coming over here and nuzzle. So I got to go let her out, probably feed her as well, and then I'm going to feed myself, and then I'll be back. So I'll shoot that link out on Twitter when I'm live as usual, or just hit that bell, notifications on YouTube. Hopefully that thing works sometimes, and you'll know when I'm live. And thank you so much for joining me. And honestly, I look forward to when I finish catching up to One Piece, a discussion. I know... It's not going to be caught up to the chapters and the fan translations. I don't think I'm going to read the fan translations unless I really need to read more. I'm probably going to wait till the physical volumes come out. But I would love to do like an overview of my thoughts up to the point, and maybe we'll have a good chat there. Maybe I'll bring dollar coins on and we'll just have a discussion about it, because that would be a lot of fun. But all right. Yeah, same thing. I need to eat as well. So you folks take care. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics. And Adios, y va con Dios, mi amigos. Catch you later.